Hey there, so today we have another review. This is a beer courtesy of Roaring Table. Thank you so much for Ryan Head Brewer. He sent me a new batch of All-American Burger, their California style IPA / West Coast IPA. Really excited. This is like literally a week-ish fresh. Fries with that, yeah. I said it worked all the time. 7.1%. Truly excited. This is one of the best IPAs I've had all year, if not in the last couple of years. It's actually really fitting. The reason why I'm reviewing this like now is because I think I'm pretty sure I finished through like pretty much all the Pacific Northwest IPAs that I got from Portland. What a clear example of like beer from like a certain area of the country that is literally directly, or I mean, for you guys, it'd be, yeah, literally Florida, Orlando, Central Florida to Portland, Oregon. In the continental US can literally be further, but to see the great quality of beer, but the difference in beer, and just absolutely insane. So I really enjoyed this beer, and I enjoyed it before I tried the beers from Portland, so why not try it out? So bring you guys on this one. It's 7.1%. Chinook Mosaic Citra Simcoe. Yeah, so this beer has a little bit of color to it. What I've noticed in Pacific Northwest beers are, let's just Portland IPAs. Let's go Portland. The Portland IPAs have a little bit more clarity, or not clarity, brightness to them, or not brightness, sorry, lightness to them. They're both bright beers, like clearly very clear beers, but there's a little bit more color here, right? So there's probably a little, no, maybe I don't know if there's any amount of like crystal malts or Vienna in here, but it seems just a hair darker, just like a hint. Very possible, who knows? On the nose, this is a very distinct nose. Has a similar kind of like, so this, again, just like when I tried it, dominates on Mosaic. But also that Pacific Northwest thing is very soily. That's the initial note again. Soily, berries, blueberry, like kind of like very interesting kind of berry note. Green strawberries, soily. What is that? There's just like a little bit of like a raspberry, red berry. That's what Hop Butcher calls sometimes. So it's like a red berry. It's a berry sweetness to it, but tart berries and soil. Along with a little bit of like light kind of sweet melon note, but it's like dank and verdant too. It's got definitely some thiol character. I definitely get some Sauvignon Blanc thing, a little bit of that cat pee, a little bit of that white grape, and it doesn't have the thiol heavy hops like Chinook, Mosaic, Citra, Simcoe, but I think like Mosaic shows off to me sometimes. I would have guessed there's nothing here full blind, but cheers. So for me, this beer has a little bit more body, just a hair more. I feel there's a little bit more residual sweetness on this beer compared to some of those beers. But outside that, it's in the same realm. Soily, noticeably bitter. It allows the complexity of the hops to shine, right? If you're making a Portland IPA, you can play with the hop flavors. You just have to, like, at least when I can tell, like crystal clarity, light color, dank aroma, soily character as a thread throughout. It's got this kind of just like verdant green character to it, but also just like earth. It just has like this like earthiness to it. Like it is a really wonderful bass tone. Because it's not just all the pretty kind of like oily pine cones and resin and all these like pretty like sticky flavors. It's got a really set kind of base flavor. The other thing I get from this beer is a really noticeable saturation of hops. They're doing it in this beer. They're doing it to, maybe not all the Portland IPAs I tried, but like it's a really wonderful kind of like washing of like oily hop character, sort of six on the palate. Shout out to Heady Topper, that kind of thing going on. But yeah, just really tasty beer. There's a really nice kind of like light breadiness, but it's crisp and dry. It almost has characteristics of Pilsner, but it's got a really nice kind of juicy malt character. Juicy in the sense of like not even fruit, but like it feels like you're biting into something that's malty and juicy. I think that's a good descriptor that like Garrett Oliver sort of describes it. Like there's a chewiness, and sometimes it's associated with crystal malt. But here's maybe not crystal malt. Just has just a crunch of just feeling you're saturated by a little bit of sweetness on the palate, right? The bready sweetness. Yeah. And then it's mosaic dominant. I get like a little bit of green tea. I get the dankness that comes in from it. A little bit of that like green strawberry blueberry note, complemented by some like herbaceous qualities, a little bit of base tone, kind of soily character. So this plays in a little bit more complexity than I get from some Pacific Northwest beers, but it's in the realm. Is it California style? Hey, if this is what California is doing, then they're very closely related to Portland. It's just tasty. Like the bitterness is pretty a little bit pushed back. I would say it's like medium plus, not full, but this beer is just like so tasty. Yeah, I mean, if this was available, like drop everything. Like it's so good. Like the amount of drinkability it has. I like that it's dry. Like you know me. I love a fresh high lie. It's produced like an hour and a half away from me. But there is some crystal malt in that beer, and there is some original sweetness, and there is that lingering kind of like oily, lasting, sweet, tangerine kind of character. Bitterness balances out, but there is some crystal malt. This one just has like a levity to it. It's living on a really light kind of malt characteristic, malt character, and sits with like just really pretty fun, like bouncy kind of hops going on. Like it relies on Mosaic, which is a pretty dynamic hop in general, but uses that very well. And it has the other like hops in there to like really offer more complexity. This is one of my favorite beers of the year. So this for me. Oh, as I drink more, there's just that like chef's kiss of like the intensity that Heady Topper gives you up front. It's just so freaking intense. It's just hops. And I've described to you what the hop flavors are, but like there's a saturation that just like is so like it's like, oh, like, yeah. Like there's beers that are IPAs and you taste them like, okay, that's an IPA. And there's only so much hop flavor you can get out of it. And then there's IPAs that like express more. And then there's beers like this that are just like our next level of like, how'd you turn the volume even higher than what I know? And it's just like more hops. It's just like, whoa. It's like, whoa. Yeah. If a sound can be a flavor, it's like, whoa. Like kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. That's a 98 for me. Until next time, guys. Cheers. All American Burger. One of the best IPAs I'm going to try all year. Crystal clear. Absolutely delicious. Just dank, delicious. Explosively hoppy. Yeah. Let's go with 90 plus. Cheers later.